we'll go around and introduce, we have a quorum, so it's 7:35. I think we'll have more people joining, but why don't we start the introductions? I'm going to officially open the meeting at 7:36 p.m. Thank you to Debbie Cook for always taking amazing meeting minutes. My name is Tanya Bodell. I am the chair of the Alternative Energy Committee. And today on the agenda, we have two speakers. Before we introduce them, we're going to go around and introduce ourselves, and then we're going to vote on the meeting minutes and then jump into first an update on community aggregation and next steps from Good Energy, followed by David Langley at NECO to tell us about Mass Save and what some of the options are that people in Cohasset can access. So why don't we start with the members of the Alternative Energy Committee? I'll let you call yourself. Tanya Bodell, as I've already said.
Steve Winter, Aggregation Chair.
Debbie Cook.
Hey, Josh Staunton.
Mike Schmidt.
Excellent. And then Michelle, would you like to introduce yourself? And then we'll have Good Energy and David, and followed by Alicia, who's listening in.
Sure. So Michelle Larry, I am the Contracts and Procurement Manager for the Town of Cohasset.
And I am David. I am the Outreach Manager over at NECO. We're a Mass Save partner.
Awesome. And I'm Daria Mark, the Marketing and Communications Coordinator at Good Energy.
Connor O'Rourke, Director of Marketing and Municipal Affairs for Good Energy.
And Alicia, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Alicia Babcock. I'm a resident of Cohasset, and I'm just here to observe.
Excellent. Great to have you.
Thank you.
All right, excellent. So we do have a quorum with 5 people. What I like to do is turn to the meeting minutes for approval. And these are meeting minutes from January 13th, 2022. We distributed those in advance. I'll give everybody a minute to just refresh their memory, and then I'd be looking for a motion to approve the minutes or suggestions on potential changes.
I'd like to request one minor change. In the aggregation section, the first sentence, it says that there were 29 towns at the end of December that did not had plans before the DPU. It was actually 20 towns, not 29. There were 9 or 10 towns that had amended plans also, but there were 20 towns that had new plans. And then the 6 plans that Good Energy had were approved on the 29th of December, as we said.
Okay, that is a great correction. Thank you. Steve, any other changes or edits? Okay, hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Subject to Steve's change. Sorry, did I hear a so moved?
Oh, no, when I, no.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, thank you, Mike Schmidt. Do I have a second?
Second. I did say move the motion, but anyways, okay. We got that taken care of.
Okay, so okay, then you know what? We'll give it to you, Steve. Move the motion, and Mike, can you second the motion?
Mike Schmidt seconded.
Okay, very good. So Steve Winter made a motion to approve the minutes. Mike seconded. Is there any discussion? And this is, of course, subject to Steve's change. Is there any discussion? Okay, we have to do a roll call vote. All in favor, we'll just go. Tanya Bodell, aye.
Steve Winter, aye.
Debbie Cook, aye.
Josh
Mike Schmidt,
Staunton.
aye. Oops, sorry.
It's okay. Josh Staunton, aye.
Mike Schmidt, aye.
Okay, very good. The minutes pass unanimously. I'm very proud of this group for being able to stay up to date on the meeting minutes. As you know, we put a lot of good content and information in these minutes. And as a result, we've been able to use them to communicate with potential collaborators to just bring them up to speed on where we are and let people know what the Alternative Energy Committee is doing. So this has been great. All right, these minutes are approved. Excellent. Moving on to our next speaker, we're going to have Good Energy go first to discuss community choice aggregation. And as everyone knows from our meeting minutes in January, our plan, the Cohasset plan, has been approved along with Scituate and Norwell, Scituate, our partners who are going to, John will talk about, who are going to team up with us to provide good prices, good options to the town. And John's going to talk about why he made the recommendation to defer the solicitation for now, at least for a little bit, and talk about next steps. So I turn it over, and of course, Good Energy, if you'd like to introduce yourselves, please do. And you're being recorded, and people actually are watching these meetings. So thank you for coming, and thank you for all of your help in helping us move this forward.
Thank you, Madam Chair. John O'Rourke, Good Energy. We had given a presentation last week. I would suggest that we just go through that quickly as a basis for further discussion. That'll give you some idea of where we are on this. So if I could share my screen. Could the host enable my sharing?
Yep, so that's going to be Michelle. Michelle, could you allow John to share screen? Oh no. So I am able to share my screen. I see she gave me sharing rights, but John, you still don't have them. She might have just logged us in and then stepped away for a moment.
No, I still don't have them.
Okay, do you want to email it to me? I can open it and then I can move it forward if you'd like.
I can do that.
I apologize. Oh, Michelle's here.
You have hosting ability, so you would have to grant access.
Oh, I do?
Yep.
Okay, so now the question is, how do I do that?
So if you just click under participants and you'll see
Yep.
John's name, you can.
All right, John. Thank you. Sorry, Michelle, I didn't know that. I'm going to make you a co-host.
Okay.
That should give you the rights.
There we go.
Okay. I might take it away at the end, but you've got it for now.
Sure. Yeah. We had, again, a presentation we did to Cohasset, Marshfield, and Scituate last week. And we went over some of the program options. That was one of the first. I'm going to turn this particular slide over to Daria. Daria, you there?
I am here. Maybe skip it over for now because I have the specific one to Cohasset at the beginning of my presentation. So we can just go over the presentation, the program in general, along with marketing.
Okay, we'll do that then. I am not able to scroll this for some reason.
Do you have a page down
Yeah,
button or the arrow?
not working.
Okay, do you want to?
Oh,
Oh,
there we
you
go. All right, let's talk about timeline. When we went over the presentation last week, this is actually the last slide, but essentially it gives you a timeline and how we expect that this is going to roll out. We're looking for in March to start a review and a finalization of the electricity service agreement. Essentially, this is the agreement that's signed by the town and the supplier for the supply of electricity. These documents have been through many attorneys. They've been approved by the Department of Public Utilities. We are putting some tweaks on them at this point because DPU has come up with a couple of other changes in language. And we will have that to you probably within the next couple of weeks. At the same time, we'll start preparing some materials. Daria will do that. She'll prepare some materials for outreach, some preliminary material. Then when we meet in April, we'll go to what is known as a pre-bid meeting. At the pre-bid meeting, what we do is we talk about some of the options that are available in terms of product options. We'll have indicative pricing from bidders. We deal with only national suppliers of electricity. And essentially at that pre-bid meeting is where we do all the heavy lifting. We look at those preliminary figures. We get some parameters from the municipal officials on how they want to move forward. Normally that pre-bid meeting is within a week of the bid meeting, where we get executable pricing from the bidders. And generally we have 3 or 4 bidders on these launches. What happens that day is you'll decide on a bid, both for the conventional side of electricity as well as for the renewable energy certificates. We go out to bid for both of those items. You'll finally decide on your options that you want to put into the program. And then we sign the ESA. Now the ESA has to be signed within about an hour of getting the bids. And this is done electronically. We found that during COVID, we switched to this electronic signing that is DocuSign normally. And it's a tremendous help. It goes very quickly and it's very efficient. We will finalize some outreach materials. Again, all of these outreach materials have to be approved by you. And essentially they have to be approved by the Department of Public Utilities as well. We can't do anything without approvals from the Department of Public Utilities. So it's not like we're out there on our own, and it's not like the town is not protected. In June, July, we'd issue a press release assuming that the bid has been accepted. And again, on bid day, you don't have to accept a bid if it doesn't meet your criteria. But again, normally we wouldn't put you out to bid unless we thought we could meet your criteria. So normally it is accepted, and it's usually quite obvious which is the best bid to take. Issue a press release. We do launch materials. During that June, July period, there's an opt-out period, officially of 30 days, but actually it's 36 days because of mailings on both sides for 3 days. During that time, everyone who is on the basic service of National Grid would receive a customer notification letter. That's a 2-sided letter, and again, approved by the Department of Public Utilities. It explains the whole program. It explains the choices that are available. There's also an opt-out card in there for those people who do not want to participate. For those people that do want to participate, they would be enrolled in what is known as the standard product. If they wanted another option, say more renewable electricity, and we'll talk about those other options, they can call the supplier and get enrolled in those programs. We would update the program website for all of the material, all the latest material that we have, all the information we have. And in August, the accounts start to switch over on the August meter read for all those who want to participate. All right. Let me go back. We went over these items. What we're going to do is when we have the electricity supply agreement to you, we'll also give you a what's known as a bid day representative form. Normally, it's the town manager or town administrator that is assigned by the select board to sign the electricity supply agreement on the day of the bid. Again, if it's acceptable to the town. Before that day, again, the Board of Selectmen usually give the town administrator some criteria in which, it's a good bid or a bid they don't want to accept. And that's what we do that before bid day. So on bid day, everything runs quickly and smoothly. We have that timeline that we developed. And essentially, we would go into your program goals. Daria, do you want to move along on these? Do you have a presentation?
Yeah, I have my own presentation. So if there's no questions on the work what you presented, we can switch over.
Okay.
Okay, great. Daria,
Any
I'm going
questions
to,
on what I did?
Just one clarification. Your slide on the programs, it looks like you have 4 programs, but there are only 3 programs. There's a standard program, the basic program, and the 100% renewable energy program. And Situate, Marshfield, and Cohasset have all agreed. That's what we want.
All right, well, this is just a slide of presentations. We're not deciding on anything tonight. Okay, this is just a generic slide that lets you know what options are available. All right, Daria, I'm going to stop sharing and I will let you.
actually, John, could you go to the pricing again?
You want to go to this slide?
Next one, the one with the chart. Okay. And so this is that peak, the hockey stick at the end on the top and the bottom. That's why we are deferring, because gas prices went up, electricity prices have gone up, storage was tight. And so as a result, we're going to wait until March. You said we're going to put out to bid March, April?
Well, essentially, okay, this is a current market conditions chart of the natural gas prices. And as you can see, since about June of this year, which is right about here, all right, the volatility has been extreme. That's due to a number of international, national, and New England energy factors, energy market factors. You can see this is where National Grid went out to bid, right around here, okay? And that's why their bid came in so high at 14,821, all right? This came down a bit as we got that warm spell, and it came back up as we got that colder spell. That's part of what drives this market. We are hoping this market settles down in the next couple of months so that we have a good basis and a good market to bid in. If we don't, we'll wait. But essentially, what we've seen in the recent past, you can see down here in this bottom chart, these are the forward prices for natural gas. This is the current year, the next year, the next year, the next year, and the next year. So essentially, as you go further out, your market for natural gas goes down, and therefore longer term contracts at this point in time will give you a lower price because of those futures predictions. All right, that's essentially what this chart says.
Okay, and so we anticipate as long as the volatility settles down and prices revert back to what a long-term fundamental would indicate, we should put out to bid and should easily be able to beat National Grid's default supply price.
That's certainly our objective.
Okay, good. Well, we appreciate the deferral on this to get a better price to lock in, because the program is 2 years, correct?
Well, the program is for whatever length you decide.
Okay,
Lately, the sweet spot has been 3-year contracts.
okay.
Because of this chart here,
Mhm.
future gas prices are going down. That indicates longer term contracts are cheaper. Okay. Any
Got it.
other questions on these slides?
Just one little nagging thing. Have we got a response from the DPU for our compliance filing?
No, we have not. We basically, what we did with the compliance filing, we did one filing for one town of the 6. We want the DPU to get back to us with an approval of that so that we know all of the situation that's happening with those filings. So then we can file them all at once and it should be approved very quickly.
Okay, so you don't anticipate any problem with that happening before you want to go out to bid?
Well, we couldn't go out to bid unless we got that approval. And
Yeah, but I mean, you're not nervous about getting that approval before you want to go to bid. That's what I'm asking.
yeah, we can't predict what the DPU might do, but we're certainly expecting that they will move this along because they gave us the preliminary orders back at the end of last year. So they know that we want to basically go to bid shortly. So hopefully they will take, that into consideration. Any other questions? All right, Daria, do you want to?
Yep. I think, Tanya, you'll have to give me permission to share.
I think you have it. Oh, here, I'll make you the co-host.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I just tried.
Okay.
Perfect. Can everybody see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, great. So as John was saying, there's 3 products in your program. So we don't like to use the word plan because a plan for a program has a very specific definition. It's the multiple page lengthy thing that we submit to the Department of Public Utilities. So there's a program and there's 3 different products. The goal of the products is to make sure everybody in Cohasset can find a place and a product that is the right one for them. So the standard is the one that most people will wind up in. It's a great balance between renewable energy and cost competitiveness. And because the Department of Public Utilities requires that anytime I talk about rates and cost, I would have to say that future savings cannot be guaranteed for the obvious reason that we don't know what future National Grid rates will be, although we will know them obviously at the time of launch. And then you have 2 optional products that people would sign up for as they chose. Cohasset Basic is a great one for anybody who is on a tight budget and really needs the best price. That one matches what the state requires for renewable energy. And then there's the 100% one, which has the clean renewable energy all the way to 100% of your consumption. So great for people who are really worried about climate, want to take a bigger impact on renewable energy. So that's what Cohasset has in your plan. I want to quickly just run through remembering what the program is about will help us understand where to angle the marketing and how to talk about the program in general. And sometimes some of these details are also not either not remembered or not obvious, I just want to make sure everybody's on the same page. So the program is open to anyone in Cohasset. It doesn't matter if you rent, if you own, if you're a resident, if you're a business, it does not matter. So long as you pay an electric bill in Cohasset, you can participate in the program. There's 3 different options that I just went over. And the goal is to provide a carefully designed alternative. That's why you have 3 different products with 3 different levels of renewable energy and electricity supply options. What is really also important about this program is that there are no hidden fees. There are no contracts. There's nothing that that in any way binds someone to the program. The participation is voluntary, so people can leave at any time, they could join, or they could choose a product, and there's no fee associated with any of those actions. So I'll talk about outreach and marketing as far as like, what are the basics and what's the minimum that we do, and some of these are required. And then I'll open it up and see if the committee, it's up to you how you want to budget your time. We could either have an open discussion. I could take notes about what other channels and where you might want to market the program, or you're welcome to send me emails later or however you want to provide feedback. So I requested from the town that they create we have a website built for the program, and right now it basically just says the program is in plan, and that's because we don't have a bid, and we assigned bid that tells us prices and duration and all things. And we don't have final compliance, the approval for the compliance filing from the DPU. So we're not like fully, completely, entirely approved yet. So the website just says it's in development. I requested the town create the URL called electricity.cohassetmass.org. Still waiting to hear back. If that gets approved, and that is what we'll do, it really is a lovely way to market the program because it really shows that this is a town of Cohasset program. It's not a competitive supplier. It's not some other option. That's going to be the hardest part for this, because there has been so much marketing and there is so much inundation of residents by all these onesie twosies offers that are sometimes misleading, sometimes who knows what. It's really important to show that this is a town program, designed, vetted, carefully checked. So you're required to issue a press release because electricity prices will be changing for participants. So that's something the town would issue. It usually goes out about 2-3 weeks before the letter is sent to homes and businesses about the program. We'll have a program phone number for you. We mail a postcard right before the customer notification letter, and that's what the customer notification letter is, that letter that everybody who's eligible to be automatically enrolled in the program would get. And it's 2 pages. It explains what the program is, shows prices, duration, all the different pieces. About a week before that letter mails to everybody, a postcard goes out to everyone as well. And the postcard is really, it's a voluntary piece of mailing that we do. And it just says, the program is coming. And it has the town seal on it. So it really just helps build the reminder for everybody that this program is from the town, was designed here and is starting soon. Creates lists the website, the phone number, etc. But it also has the community meeting, which is not required, but I highly recommend. It would have the date and time and the Zoom, where to find the Zoom link for that. So that's the postcard. Then we send the customer notification letter. And after those are kind of the biggest pieces that are required. And then after that, we really have all of our voluntary things. So we always make print materials for any opportunity there is to hand something out. We can also make digital versions of that for people who might have like newsletters that they send to the community or things like that with graphics or PDF files. And then I always recommend social media, both for the town to post and then any advocacy groups that want to talk about the program. And remember, this program is for everyone in Cohasset. It's not just for the climate interested folks, et cetera. It's really for everyone. So we want broad interest in the program. And then the community meeting, as I mentioned, I love doing it remotely now because the attendance that we've seen has really increased, and it's really lovely because it's so much more accessible. There are some times when we do meetings in person. I mean, I don't know what the situation will be like in April, May, June, or July, whenever the letter goes out, but assuming we can meet in person, those could be better for like senior homes or any kind of places where accessibility is better, not on Zoom, but for a lot of people, Zoom is much, much better because you could be making your dinner, you could be like doing whatever you need to be doing at home. There's less travel, so all around that is a more accessible option. So I'm going to, any questions on this like basic list of things that we would do?
I have a question on your previous slide. It might be the case that John's able to get prices that are so great that the municipality itself, the town itself, may want to join in on the aggregation. And we've always thought that would be certainly possible, but you don't have the municipality listed there in your list of things. You have renters, owners, residents, businesses, nonprofits. Well, I guess it could come under et cetera.
Well, so typically municipalities contract for their own prices because municipal contracts for electricity are a little bit different. This program has voluntary participation. People can come, people can leave, and the price is structured for that to build in that potential volatility. Municipal contracts don't have that. When you sign a municipal contract, you're signing it for 3 years. And
Yeah, so it's unlikely
Cohasset,
that John can get a rate less than what the town's able to negotiate.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, we don't typically see that because of that provision, but it's definitely something that we can talk about and explore. We just haven't seen it yet because of that feature. Any other questions? I see someone has a hand raised. I don't know, Tanya, are you able to see also, or do you want me to like administer?
You can moderate if you'd like. Mike Schmidt, if you'd like to ask your question.
Yep, thanks. I had a question about the bill. Does the look of the bill change?
Oh, that's a great question. No. So if you look at your electricity bill right now, it will look exactly the same, except for one very tiny difference. And this is where people get sometimes tripped up. There's two portions to your bill. There's supply and delivery. And under supplies like this big and deliveries like this big. And so people kind of tend to always look at delivery and then start asking questions, which of these 10 lines are going to change. Delivery does not change with the program. It's always with the utility and it stays with the utility. The only thing that would change with this program would be the supply portion. If you look at your supply portion right now, if you're with National Grid, it'll say National Grid. If you have some competitive supplier, it'll say their name. With the program, it would say probably Cohasset something, whatever we kind of determine is the right collection of words. And then whatever the supplier that would be supplying the program would get their name in there also.
Okay, thanks. And one more question. So if someone signs up for the program, depending on whatever option they choose, they're enrolled for a year, and they say, oh, my bill seems a lot higher or lower than I used to pay. How would they go about comparing to what they would have paid on the National Grid basic? How, is there any way to compare what they would have paid or?
Yeah, so it's a great question. The website will have several places where people could compare. So we don't keep historical information. So we wouldn't keep like what happened in the past. Although sometimes we do put performance information if you like. It's really up to the town. But what usually we do, there's a calculator and it says, here are the three options for the program. And then here's the National Grid rates. And National Grid has three rates, residential, small C&I, and large C&I. So they also have three different rates based on how much electricity you use. Most everyone's going to be in the residential. So the calculator will say, you put in like, okay, so average household uses 600 kilowatt hours according to the DPU. In Massachusetts, Cohasset might be more, might be less, whatever your usage is, but you put in your kilowatt hours and then you get all the different prices and you'll see, okay, so for the supply portion, if I'm on the standard product, I'm paying $35. If I'm on the 100% product, it's like 40 something dollars. If I'm on the basic, it's $32 or something like that. I'm just making these prices up because for comparison, but you'd obviously just do it at the time when you wanted to compare. So you go to the calculator, punch in your kilowatt hours. The other place is also, when we list, we'll have a table that lists the prices. And the national grid price will be there also, and it'll be in cents, so you can compare like what the different costs are. And sometimes people get confused about their electricity bill, and they kind of say, like, why did my electricity bill go up? But the reason for that is really just increased usage and not because the supply fee has changed, right? So right now there's a couple of things that are changing for residents. If you're with the utility, your bills are changing every 6 months because the rate is changing, but they're also changing every month because your usage changes depending on how much electricity you need.
Thanks.
Great questions. Thank you. Debbie Cook, I think you have your hand raised. Did you want to?
I was wondering historically if you could tell sort of the breakout of in towns about the percentage of people that select the various options.
Yeah, great question also. So this is the same for all communities. Most everyone is going to be on the standard product. So if you want like the most, if your goal is like, we want the most renewable energy, that's going to be where you get it. The standard product is where most everyone is going to participate. Now you have the other two products, the basic and the 100%. The basic is great. And if you do enough outreach for seniors and people who are on fixed income who need that option, there's great enrollment there. But again, we're talking maybe a few hundred people at most. The 100% option, same thing. If you do outreach and you reach the community, those in the community who want more renewable energy, who are really worried about the climate, who understand the risks and are willing to invest in it, again, you're going to get a few hundred enrollees there also, typically. So it's, if you do nothing, it's under 1%. There's communities that we have who really, really, really focus on the 100% option. They want more people to know about it, because a lot of times people kind of looking at other places to see where they could get renewable energy. So advocates want people to know that there's this town program and it's vetted and it's had this great 100% option. So for those communities, we're seeing more like 5 to 6% of participants have chosen that option. And because the difference between, plus 10% versus 100% is so stark, they wind up really impacting the amount of renewable energy that the program consumes in a very positive way, obviously. So it really depends on the amount of outreach that you do and how much you want to focus on getting people to sign up.
So along that line, when you say, like on the 100% option, is there a way to quantify how much they're saving the town, or in their electrical use? Is probably not possible.
What do you mean by saving the town in their electrical?
Or saving in electricity is, by going renewable, you said, that it's making an impact, and it isn't on the town per se. It's, so I was just wondering if there was a way to calculate, like how much, carbon dioxide or whatever was saved by people going 100% in Cohasset.
Yeah, so what we typically do is about once a year, right? It's really good to get everybody on cumulative. So about once a year, with communities that are more active and really want to promote that 100% option, we'll put out a press release, the town will put out a press release that we help craft that says, like, in 2021, participants who chose the 100% option, increased the renewable energy by X number, which is about equivalent to X number of turbines per year or solar fields or whatever you want to do. It offsets emission, not offsets it, it reduces emissions by so-and-so, and we use the ISO New England emissions information for those calculations and such. So yes, we are able to do a calculation that says, there's the impact of, we are increasing the demand for more renewable energy, and also the impact of that consuming that renewable energy decreases the amount of emissions we would have otherwise created.
Thank you.
Great, thanks. Any other questions?
Mike, is your hand still up?
Nope, sorry.
And Debbie, your hand, you
Yeah,
just
no,
had a
mine-
great question.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Alicia, did you have a question? I know you're just sitting in to listen.
No, thank you for offering, but I'm just watching the presentations.
Okay, fabulous. So this is great. Thank you so much for the update. And if you could, Daria and John, if you could send us these great presentation slides, we'll incorporate them into the meeting minutes. And then, as I said, people are reading our minutes and they are watching the recordings. So this is a very good step towards publication. Also, so you know, we are going to talk about this later in the meeting. This committee has been asked to write some articles for Life on the Rocks, local magazine, and one of the articles is focused on the community choice aggregation. Steve wrote a great article on that. And so hopefully we will do our part as well to help you with the marketing and making sure everybody in town understands what's happening and what their options are.
That sounds great. Yeah, so beyond these items, I'd love to hear feedback on anything else that you think should be done. And I have a couple more slides, which I will just forward to you and you can peruse as
Great.
as you wish. Thanks
Well,
so much
thank
for your
you
time.
so much. Yes, this has been a roller coaster ride, but I feel like we're about to get off the ride, the thrilling ride that we've been on, and move forward to implementing this. So thank you again for all your patience and your help.
You're at an exciting place, that's for sure. The launch is always the biggest and most exciting moment. Thank you for
That's
your
great.
time.
That is great. All right, excellent. Well, thank you so much. You are invited to stay. You don't have to. We understand you have other things going on, but thank you for
Appreciate it.
attending and presenting, and don't feel obligated one way or the other. We're going to move to David to hear, hopefully in 10 to 15 minutes, David, what you all do and Mass Save and how your
Yeah.
company works. Do you need, do you have any
I will
slides?
need, yes, I do have some slides. I'll try to move a little bit quickly through them,
Yeah.
just because we're pressed on time and stuff. But yes, thank you for having me. So I'm the outreach manager over at NECO, Mass partner. We're actually a multilingual Mass Save partner, one of the only ones. So we do the assessments for Mass Save. What I do within NECO is my job is to provide different, energy saving solutions for different communities and towns across the state, basically to see how we can help them hit their sustainability goals. So, whether it's home energy assessments, community solar, insulation, heating and cooling, or just, basic info on energy solutions, we're there to help. We do have, in-house experts along with out-of-house experts that we can connect with towns. So I am gonna just pull up just some PowerPoint slides here. Give me one sec. Right. Share screen. There we go. Okay. All right. So before we jump into everything, we're just going to talk about the state of Massachusetts and where it's at right now. So as we all know, or if you don't know, where Massachusetts is going is towards electrification of the state. So switching from fossil fuels like gas and oil over to the use of heat pumps and things like that. Oh, sorry, give me 1 second. I'm going to make this a slide. Okay, there we go. So in order to, meet these ambitious goals that the state has, over the next 30 years, we're looking to have an average of 100,000 homes switch over from gas and oil to electric heating. Now, in order to do this, policymakers have to, incorporate large incentives for heat pumps and also provide different options for low income and rental upgrades and stuff like that. And more importantly, really just increase the education across the state on all these different options. With increased education comes increased information, availability, and access to these programs. All right. Going into Mass Save itself, I'm sure most people know what Mass Save is, but I'm just going to kind of go just an overview here. So Mass Save is the state's energy efficiency program. Homeowners through the state can take advantage of it as long as they pay a National Grid, Eversource, or Columbia gas bill. There's also, Cape Cod Electric. And then if you go over to the western part of Mass, they have other electric providers too that tie into the program. So through this program, what people get out of it is a home energy assessment. So that's where NECO comes involved. So just an overview of the home energy assessment. It's a whole health and safety check of the home. So we come out to the home, we go attic to basement, wall to wall. We check your heating and cooling. We check the walls for insulation. We use like a thermogun for that process. We'll check for, mold, mildew, asbestos, carbon monoxide leaking. We'll even provide, a blower door test to kind of see where those cracks and drafts are in the home. And what you can expect is, our specialist will provide you with a report card at the end of the assessment. From there, they'll talk to you about, all the different options through Mass Save that you can take advantage of. So some of the big things, the assessment itself is great to kind of see where your home is in standing compared to other homes and stuff like that. But really the beneficial part of the program is taking advantage of the generous rebates that Mass Save has to offer. So things like 75 to 100% off insulation. I always tell people, if you're going to insulate your home, why wouldn't you want to get 75% off? 100% is towards landlords or people that own multifamilies. There's also rebates, for refrigerators and washer and dryers, dehumidifiers, things like that. There's also rebates, for heating and cooling options, whether it's, a ductless mini split, a heat pump, a new furnace, boiler. Right now, Mass Save is coming up with their new program for 2022. They're rolling it out very slowly, but they have issued, some of the bigger rebates to help the state get turned to electrification. So they're issuing up to $15,000 for heat pumps to make it easier for the state to hit their goals. And as they roll out more and more options, I believe they're going to have more things targeted towards whether it's, ground source heat pumps or air source heat pumps and those different types of options as well, along with the $15,000. Going into heat pumps. So just so everyone kind of gets an overview of what heat pumps are. So they're heating and cooling systems that move heat indoors in the winter and draw heat outdoors in the summer. So, instead of burning fossil fuels, they're powered by electricity to move, rather than create heat. And some of the misconceptions with heat pumps is, how would they work over here and on the East Coast with, our crazy winters and stuff like that. The technology's actually gotten a lot greater over the last few years, so they've become a lot more efficient during those harsh winters. Common types of heat pumps I had mentioned, air and ground source. Some of the advantages, compared to heating and cooling with oil and propane and stuff like that, heat pumps generally will save you more money on your energy bills. There also can be installed with and without ductwork. So you can actually, it doubles up as a heating and cooling option. So that kind of leads into comfort and convenience. And then the biggest thing is they emit less greenhouse gases, which is better for the environment. Hence why there's this huge push for heat pumps across the state. A lot of towns are coming up with their own net action zero plans to try to hit those sustainability goals. I don't know if that's something that you guys are also looking into. Do we have any questions so far? I know I'm kind of going through this pretty quickly.
Let's see. On the heat pumps,
Yes.
on the incentives. So any idea when Mass Save is going to finalize their 2022-24 incentives? It's kind of discouraging. I checked 2 days ago, and as of that point, they had not put in the new incentives for 2022.
Yeah, so obviously the HPCs are going to hear from it first. So what I've heard so far is that they were supposed to have everything rolled out by the end of January.
Yes, that's what their website said, but
Yeah, that's
it didn't
I
happen.
know it didn't happen. So I know that they're slowly rolling out things. They're hoping to get stuff completely finalized by mid-March. That's what they've told us. And I think they'll be updating their website as they confirm certain things. So like, you know, the biggest thing that they wanted to make sure people were able to access is the $15,000 incentives for heat pumps. And then along with that, you'll be able to combine that with the heat loan program as well. But as far as like an actual date or anything, I'm honestly not sure, but that's something that we update our partners with in the communities that we work with. So yeah, we can keep you in the loop the minute that we hear, you know, some of the new stuff start to roll out for the year.
Okay, a question about the heat pumps, the cold weather heat pumps, cold climate heat pumps. Talking to a guy who got a heat pump, a 2-unit system a year ago, and he was disappointed that it wasn't adequate during the cold spells. We've had a couple of cold spells we've had. Now, from the reading I've done, it seems like if you buy specifically a cold climate heat pump, and if your house has been insulated well enough, it should be fine. Now, is that still what you're claiming? You say it works down to minus 15 degrees F, but some people have been disappointed with the performance of their heat pumps, and I'm wondering if it's because they weren't recommended to get the proper system, or if,
that's what I'm thinking. You know, there's high-end heat pumps, of course, and things like that. So it could have been the exact system. For with the partners that we work with, all of their options that they have are definitely reliable with these winter conditions that we have on the East Coast here. So, I mean, you know, if a customer is unhappy, of course, we're going to try to provide the necessary needs to make sure that they're, you know, on the right path and that they are satisfied with any type of installation that we have to do for them.
Okay.
Yeah, I have heard, you know, different things from different companies. You know, some companies do more of the lower end products and stuff like that, where they aren't as efficient, I guess you could say. The partners that we work with obviously offer a variety of different ranges, you know, from low tier, mid tier, and high tier systems.
Let me ask you about the new construction. Would you feel confident in advising a builder that he could build an all electric home without putting in fossil fuel furnaces or boilers, just using heat pumps? Would you feel confident in making that kind of recommendation if they?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what you would want to do is obviously generate the heating and cooling through the heat pump, and then ultimately we would want the customer to offset it with solar. So those types of options like that.
You know, I bring it up because I'm hoping that later in this meeting, or maybe in our next meeting, I can talk a little bit about the new net zero building code that's just been proposed.
Yeah, I actually haven't heard too much about and I don't know if that's just with you guys, or if that's across the state that they just came out with the new building code.
Yeah, it's the Department of Energy Resources had a webinar last week about it.
Okay. Are there any other questions on heat pump?
I have a question.
Yes,
Debbie. A while ago, you know, we had insulation put in, and they were allocating about $2,000 a year, and then you could do it for 2 years. So that was like $4,000. Is there anything like that still available? I haven't been able to see anything like that.
Yeah, so it used to be 75% off up to $2,000 worth. They've actually gotten rid of that cap. So it's actually just 75% off the whole entire project. So yeah, it's gotten a lot better.
You don't promote that more.
Oh, we try to promote it. I mean, so Mass Save itself, they'll send you mailers with like your national grid bill and stuff like that. Over here at NECO, and I'll get into this a little bit later on, is our wheelhouse is we have a whole outreach team that's dedicated to educating people out in the public. You know, we feel like face-to-face interactions is the best way spreading, information and getting, the right answers and making sure people feel comfortable. But yeah, we over at Nico, we try to be out in the public as much as we can, whether it's, farmers markets, things like that. And also, sending out direct mailers and all that stuff that I'll get into a little bit later. I do wish that Mass Save did a little bit more marketing themselves. Obviously, that's something that that's a little bit above me. That's something that, my GM, that he has those meetings with Mass Save and stuff like that. But yeah, it's surprising that, that you haven't heard the new, up to date incentives and rebates with the insulation and stuff like that. But yeah, generally it's 75% off, no cap now. So we tell people to take advantage. But yes, I do wish there was a little bit more marketing on that aspect.
Thanks.
David, I do have one kind of silly question.
Yeah.
NECO sounds like an acronym to me. Can you tell us what it means?
Yeah, it is. It stands for New England Energy Efficiency Company. Yep. A lot of people look at us and they think we're like Necco, like Necco wafers.
Like Necco wafer, yeah.
Yeah. So kind of going into some of the other options, I briefly mentioned the Mass Save heat loan. So you can use the heat loan for costs, of a new heating system, boiler, furnace, heat, mini splits, heat pumps, things like that. This 0% interest, so you can't really beat that. And you can also use it for, replacement windows. We get a lot of questions like, oh, does Mass Save do anything for windows? If you have single pane existing windows, there are programs that we can help, we'll give you X amount of dollars to convert to a double pane or a triple pane window. And then there's also the expanded heat loan program, which, will resolve different roadblocks such as Nalbin tube and vermiculite, things like that. Insulation, we do blown in cellulose. Here are some pictures that you guys can take a peek at. Cellulose is, made up of 85% recycled material. It's all blown in. Whether it's from the exterior or the interior, it all depends on your home situation. Here's some more weatherization examples that we provide. So, we do spray foam for, cracks and drafts and stuff like that. We'll also do weather stripping around doors as well. Now going into some of NECO's results for the last year. So last year we actually did 4,500 assessments. Our capacity is at 500 per month. The reason why we didn't hit capacity is because with COVID and everything, we were still having, when we brought back employees, we were slowly bringing them back at the beginning of the year. So we weren't able to actually hit that capacity number. Installs and retrofits. So installs, what NECO does is we do insulation. We don't do any heating and cooling in-house, okay? So we have partners that will provide those heating and cooling options that we work closely with. So as far as installation jobs, we did about 1,500 for the year last year. And then 128 Plumbing, that is our premier heating and cooling partner. So, we'll go out, do an assessment, and if a homeowner wants to move forward with, whether it's a boiler, furnace, ductless mini split, heat pump, we will, we'll talk to them about Plumbing 128 and have them come out, and ultimately it's up to the homeowner to make those decisions. But, our auditors, when we're out there, we're educating them on, why a heat pump would be more efficient than, going with a new furnace or boiler, things like that. So last year they did about 400, and those installs that, that can range from heat pumps, boilers, furnaces, things like that. So this is a workflow with our partner. This is taken from we did a RFP with the town of Salem and Beverly recently. So generally this is how it works. We have the outreach to the customer, gather the data, schedule the assessment, customer provides the data. We review all that with the utilities. NECO then goes out and does the assessment, does the whole health and safety check, provides that report card, makes heat pump recommendations. Ultimately, as you know, it's up to the homeowner to follow through with any of those recommendations. We're there to strictly educate and guide homeowners in the right direction, but it's up to them to move forward. So if they want to move forward with heating and cooling, that's when 128 Plumbing comes into play. They'll provide the customer with an estimate of services. and they will perform the installation. So boiler, furnace, heat pump, things like that. If the homeowner doesn't want to move forward with heating and cooling and they want to go to insulation, NECA will come back out, perform those deeper savings measures, insulation, air sealing, etc. And then we do a follow-up survey to make sure that the customer had a good experience. That actually should be connected also to Plumbing 128 because we do follow up with our customers that have installs over there. So I'm actually gonna unshare real quick and I'm just gonna talk about a couple things here. So really going back into what NECO has to offer and what we want to offer for the town. You know, I had mentioned we have a full outreach and canvassing team who engage with the community daily, you know, whether it's on the Mass Save program or your local energy program. So say Cohasset has, you know, a Solarize program. We're going to be able to educate people on the Solarize program as well, and not just specifically Mass Save, whether it's, you know, community solar, things like that. Maybe you have an electric vehicle program happening within the town. We're still going to talk to them about those options as well. And these engagements can range, you know, anywhere from community events, wellness programs, lunch and learns, corporate events. You know, we have partnerships with Home Depot right now, Staples, you know, Ace Hardware as well. And once again, we feel like that face-to-face communication is the best way to make sure consumers feel comfortable about taking advantage of the different programs that the town has to offer. Along with that, we will do a lot of digital campaigns as well. So we have, you know, digital campaigns, webinars that we'll do, direct mail campaigns, and, you know, creating those different opportunities with local businesses. One of the big things that we're able to provide as a contractor too is a live status up to date, you know, on different projects that are happening. So if a homeowner has the assessment done, we're able to tell you, yes, John Smith had their assessment done on this date. This is what they did. They took advantage of insulation and they moved forward and they ended up getting a heat pump ultimately. So, and these reports can be, you know, like I said, they can be live. We can also provide, you know, monthly and quarterly reports as well. And then along with that, we're going to provide all of our advisors as well. So our guys that are going out and doing these assessments, they're going to be provided with the proper information. So they know, hey, when I enter Cohasset, they have a Solarize program. You know, they're really pushing the heat pumps. You know, maybe they have a community solar program as well. They're going to be trained and with all the proper information to give to the customer. And then I'm going to actually pop up the PowerPoint one more time because I did want to go over, you know, some of the towns that we've worked with here. Give me a second.
Yep. And David, if you can wrap this up because we still have to move on, but this has been very, very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Screen. Okay. And okay. All right. So recently, well, actually, this was last year. We partnered up with All In Energy. They're a nonprofit. They're a nonprofit outreach team. So they specifically cater to underserved residents, you know, in the Boston and surrounding area, people, you know, that don't have English as their first language, and, you know, people of color and stuff like that. We help them in the city of Cambridge. We help 300 to 400 renters. I think it was like closer to 400 renters, you know, take advantage of these no-cost assessments and stuff like that. We made it easy for them to, you know, connect and ask questions and stuff like that because there are a lot of multilingual people in that Boston area, and we have the multilingual resources over at NECO. So that was one project that we did. We also worked with the town, with CAPIC, as well as Action, specifically on their weatherization projects for underserved groups throughout Boston and the surrounding area. This is a mailer that we did with them on the side here. So this is just, you know, one of the many things that we'll do here. We recently did, and we're still in the infancy stages of working with the town of Westford. But yeah, they're nonprofit, Westford Climate Action Committee. They have their own Net Action Zero plan, which specifically is for clean heat. And their big push was on heat pumps. So we did this direct mailer with them. They were able to include, their webinar on here. They have a couple QR codes that link them back to their website as well. There's also, they included a community survey for residents to take advantage of, and they had a heat pump webinar. So they were able to include that on the mailer too. So that's what I had with our partners. And did we have any questions? Sorry.
Yeah, this has been great. Again, David, if everybody could, we didn't do this for good energy like we normally do, but if everybody could take your mute off and give her a little round of applause.
Thank you.
A digital round of applause. So the nice thing about this, David, is it seems like we can work with you on some of the other initiatives that we're doing, and that it's a seamless integration. That's my key takeaway. That's very helpful.
I wanted to kind of see where, you guys were at as a town and, what your goals were and stuff like that, and how Nico can help you guys, achieve those goals. We have different resources and stuff like that. So we're really a big educational source. A lot of people look at HPCs as, okay, they want to come in and sell me, insulation, yada, yada, yada. And us compared to some of the other HPCs that you may talk to, some of the other HPCs have a lot of heating and cooling in-house. So they tend to have, when they're coming out to do an assessment, that's on their mind, is to sell the homeowner on heating and cooling, where for us, it's more educational. And ultimately it's up to the homeowner to, go in any direction that they want to go in. So.
Okay, fabulous, fabulous. All right, I'm going to move us along. So David, thank you. And again, sorry about the confusion for last week. We're glad you can make it this week. And I have a feeling we'll be in communication with you going forward.
Absolutely. I will send you over a follow-up email. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out.
Great. And can you also send us your slides?
Yes, absolutely.
Perfect. We'll include those. These minutes are going to be very long, but very informative. All right. Thank you, David. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. And you're allowed to stay if you want, but we understand if you
Excellent.
don't. So one way or the other, up to you. Okay, David, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, on to our next topic. I guess any discussion on community choice aggregation marketing next steps. I mean, this would be if anybody feels like there's a marketing approach that we need to take that was not identified. Let's just quickly put out some bullet points, brainstorm, and have Debbie write them down, and then we can communicate that with Good Energy. Any other suggestions on marketing?
Just a question for you. When's the deadline for the Life on the Rocks articles?
Well, the Life on the Rocks, it's the April issue. So the deadline is, she wanted it by the end of February.
Oh, by the end of February. It's just that I may want to redo the chart, the graphic, because the pie chart is out of date. It still has nuclear energy on there for Massachusetts. I'd like to get rid of that.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, and in fact, as everybody knows, and we can discuss it in public here, but I did not want us to have a discussion by email. I have circulated Life on the Rocks. Okay, so that's the next topic. So we'll talk about that the next topic. Anything else on the community choice aggregation marketing?
He mentioned, or maybe it was Daria, social media. I just want, are we doing much around social media?
Yeah, good question. So the answer is,
well, Debbie and I got together and had a discussion about this. We have some ideas. Yes, we're going to use social media, certainly a Cohasset Facebook page. And we'd like to get an insert in the water bill again, like we did before. We discussed the town website. I was disappointed from Daria here that she still hasn't gotten heard from the Cohasset IT guy and able to get the link to their website, Good Energy website, on our front page of the town website. And Debbie and I think it's would be a really good idea if the aggregation program could be highlighted on the front page, the home page of the Cohasset, the town. There's 3 things there already, but maybe we could squeeze a 4th one or displace one of those two. 2 of them are kind of redundant. Anyways, we want to make it really, really obvious and in your face. Anybody that goes to Cohasset town website, bam, they see the aggregation right there with the links, both to the stuff we have on the town website, plus the stuff that Good Energy has in their website. So, yeah.
And they might move that might find a home permanently on our page, but while we're doing the marketing push, I think we should get it on the front of the first page of the Cohasset website. So I think it might go over a little bit easier if we say it was just going to be in our marketing window before, as you know,
Yes,
everything's
right.
happening.
We only has to be up there through the marketing window, maybe 2 months. That's it.
But we can get it on our website. I think let's make a note, action item for Brianna and Michelle to get the link onto our webpage.
You mean the alternative energy webpage?
Correct.
But unfortunately, people will not know to look there. But if they
but right now it doesn't matter. Like, let's just get a link, and then when it's time to market,
oh yeah, I see what you're
the
saying.
Jesus out of it, let's
I
move it to the front.
understand what you're saying. Okay.
But let's baby step, right? Let's at least get a link.
Yeah, but somebody, the IT guy, I forget who he is, but he's got to do
Well,
that.
look, Brianna and Michelle have been very good about getting our webpage updated. And if it's updated and there's a step of just putting it up there and having a link someplace on the town website. Once it's up in the town system, you can put that link anywhere, right? It's just the making sure there's at least a link someplace. And any information we want to add. But let's move that as a next action, as an action item. And then when we present a marketing plan to the select board on this, that could be number 1.
So
Move
can
the
you
link to the front page.
verify what the link is to the Good Energy website, or that Cohasset, the website she was trying to get the domain name for? Or do you know where we're linking to?
I think she has the domain name, right?
No, I don't think, I got the impression she did
No,
not.
she doesn't. She just said, she told us she hadn't gotten it yet.
Why
Yeah.
not?
Electricity.
Well, I don't know. It's because we have not been responsive to her.
No,
Michelle.
she can
and-
go out and get that. I can get it on
No,
GoDaddy.
no. She has to have somebody help her put the link on the town website.
Okay, the link is different. Getting the web page. She said she already has a web page.
Yeah, there's nothing there.
Right.
I tried it yesterday. It doesn't work.
But did she use that domain name she gave us? I didn't think she had registered that domain name. That was what I thought.
Yeah, I tried that domain name and I got a DNS error.
Right.
She
'Cause I
hasn't
don't think
registered
it's
it yet.
registered yet. Yeah.
But
So Josh, what did you think? What did you think? I don't think she's got it.
No, she
No.
hasn't. I tried it yesterday.
Yeah, I just tried it. I mean, I was talking more too about, like, do you want to set up our own alternative energy, whether it be Instagram, Facebook page? Like, links are fine, but people have to go to cohasset.com to find those links. If they're, if you have a website, if you have a social media page, it just hits your feed. People are liking, you're meeting people with the page versus somebody going out and looking for it and going to.
Well, people would still have to know to look for it on Facebook or whatever.
Well, it starts-
We're certainly gonna put up an article on Facebook, probably a couple of articles about the aggregation on the Cohasset 143 Facebook page. But as far as having a dedicated Facebook page, create one under our own control rather than using Good Energies, I don't think that would be. I don't think we need to do that because Good Energy is going to be maintaining a website anyway, so that would be redundant and people
so
no more.
Josh, what we've done is we've pushed it out on 143 or anything that's Cohasset, we just push it out. So instead of creating our own Instagram or social media account. we're just
One thing I think we
delivering-
should do is on the town website, on the front, the homepage of the town website, had that big box about the aggregation program for a couple of months, and in there had two links. One link to Good Energy's site, and the second link to our aggregation documents that we have on the select board site, select board page. So people can go both places and see stuff about the aggregation. But I think we have stuff on the select board site that they're not gonna, probably won't be shown on Daria's site, Good Energy site. And I think, like a summary of the program that I wrote and frequently asked questions and stuff like that. I think it's better than what they did, but anyways, I think we should have went there.
Can I, does it make sense for maybe we have a little subcommittee and meet with Daria and kind of hammer out who's doing what? Because I think Steve and I think both want to participate in the marketing and think maybe, we could make it stronger if we're, having the Cohasset.
Yeah, Debbie, you and I should work with Daria. I'm sure
But
she's
I don't
phenomenal with
know,
that.
I mean, I'd like the blessing from you guys is that,
You already have it. You're the community
we have it.
aggregation
We're in a
subcommittee.
subcommittee. We have it.
okay, all right, then that's what we'll do. We'll meet with her in the next, couple of weeks, a week or so, right? And then we can kind of hammer out a kind of a marketing schedule and who's going to do what. So we're not redundant. I think
Exactly.
okay. All right.
That would be great. And then I'd recommend at our next quarterly meeting, we have Steve present to the select board this marketing plan. So put together the bullet point list of what because this was very sensitive to them. But I would say, yes, this is an action item for the subcommittee for community aggregation to put together a marketing plan. Now that our plan has been approved, a marketing plan to roll this out to meet the concerns that had been previously expressed by the select board related to making sure everybody understands what's happening.
Yeah. By the way, Tanya, I don't want to belabor it, but I'm just slightly nervous about this energy contract thing since we don't know what it says. And I fear that there might be a little bit of a conflict with the second article we passed at Fall Town Meeting, the way it's worded. It says that, the select board will consider the plans after they come back with the bids, not before the bids. So I'm just a little bit nervous about that.
But I'm sorry, why? I thought we're at the point where the select board can only assess after we get the bids.
That's what our town article says.
Okay.
But Good Energy tells us that we have to sign, Chris has to sign a contract before we go out to bid.
Right, but I think the contract has an out if there's not a satisfactory.
I assume it would. I certainly hope so.
Well, like he said, you all get to review the bids and make a decision. And usually the decision about what the right path is forward is the right decision. It's obvious. So that's the select board's role. So it sounds like we're consistent.
I wonder, what does the contract say?
Well, let's get one.
Yeah.
He has it. It's a template. He says it's an established template.
Right.
Ask him for a copy. And let's send it to town council to start reviewing now.
Okay. You want me to ask him for a copy?
Yes, please. That would be
Okay.
a subcommittee request. That's another action item for the subcommittee.
So write that in the minutes. That's my action item. Ask for the copy of the
it's going
contract.
in.
Okay, Steve, in his role as the chair of the subcommittee, I mean, this is a subcommittee thing, but Steve, yeah, you're on that, man. So Steve, you can put subcommittee, Steve and Debbie develop a marketing plan. Josh, I don't know if you want to participate. You can do that without us breaking a quorum. The other is, because I'm sure you have great ideas on social media. The other is with respect to the contract, put that under the subcommittee in parentheses, Steve, to ask John for a copy of the contract so we can run it through the manager and council.
Tanya, you had said you wanted Steve to maybe present at the quarterly meeting. Do you have a date for that?
No, I'm going to send that out. We just presented on Tuesday about the microgrid. That's now on hold. So it sucked a lot of oxygen out of the room. We can now start moving to the next oxygen sucking activities. like this.
So,
So yes,
I
I'm
mean,
gonna
do you
ask.
have a ballpark of this, is that a matter of, days, weeks,
It'd be within the next month.
within the next month?
Usually within the next month. If I put in a request to get in front of them, they find a spot in the agenda within 2 to 4 weeks.
Okay, 'cause you
You're
said.
talking about the March
quarterly
meeting?
I'm talking about the select board meetings.
Yes, the March select board meeting, whenever that is.
It might be a select board meeting in March. It might bleed into April, but I think we have to tell them this is coming and they need to understand where we are on this. I don't control their agenda. All I can do is request, but they're usually very responsive. Okay. And then Josh, if you have some thoughts on social media and what we should be doing as Alternative Energy Committee, let's discuss that at the next meeting. If you'd like, I can make that an agenda item. And then we can, if we all agree that we should be doing something more pointed than we are, then we can ask permission from the select board to do that at the next presentation at the quarterly meeting.
Okay, yeah, I just, she brought it up and I think, generally, not necessarily just for aggregation, but just in general, we're really publicizing some of the things we're doing and adding a little context to it would be.
I totally agree because we're going to have some warrants. I think we're going to have some warrant items, at least one, possibly more on the, at the town meeting. So starting to socialize that now would be good.
Yeah, and Cohasset 143 gets a big toxic. I'm not on Facebook anymore, but when I was, that website is just.
Oh, people
It's
are just
brutal.
non-mean.
There's no 143. There's no
sorry.
love involved.
I missed what you said. What were you going to do on social media? I'm sorry.
So Josh, if he agrees, will be ready. He'll let us know. He'll let me know if he'd like to have an agenda item on social media for the Alternative Energy Committee. So what could be a social media plan for our committee to socialize some of these activities that we're doing?
Okay, so that's an agenda item. So
It would be an agenda. So the action item is for Josh to let Tanya know whether he'd like, whether/when/if he would like to have an agenda item on social media where he could present to the group.
Yeah, I don't claim to be any social media expert, but I can see the value in it.
Yeah, that's all we need.
Yep.
That's the beauty of social media is most people on social media are not experts.
Yeah. And the cost.
Yeah. Okay. All right, great. This is good. This is exciting. I'm very, very proud of the patience and the diligence and the persistence that Steve and Debbie and the subcommittee for community aggregation have shown. This is, I know it was dark days at the end of the year before this got passed, but we're moving and grooving, man. So this is great. Congratulations again. All right, fabulous. Okay, Earth Day 2020. I don't know if anybody on this call has an update. I think that Michelle and Brianna have been coordinating on that. So I'll ask, does anybody have an update on those activities? Okay, I think Pat Gooding is our liaison. So she's been attending those meetings with Peter Pescatori. Life on the Rocks articles. So now we can talk about this. I distributed around to everybody a draft of the 5 articles in the topics that we discussed. Everybody was amazing. Normally when you're writing an article or somebody's writing an article, you have to chase them, but everybody was able to get their articles in very quickly. I went through some of them, added, tried to make them all consistent. Debbie, yours, I hope you don't mind. I definitely
It had a few revisions. It's fine.
I put in some
My feelings
additions.
get hurt.
It was mainly to make it less of an advocacy and more of a, let's, put in all of the points. And if you don't like it, I'm happy to talk to you offline about it.
That's fine. It's just that I think we have to make the advocacy because Otherwise, our planet's going to blow up, but that's a talk for another day. So, you know, I don't want to give the other guys a discussion of reasons why we shouldn't go electric.
But there are some valid reasons, especially for this town. And if we don't highlight those, we lose credibility to do the work that we're trying to do. That's my only
I
fear.
hear you. I know.
That's
I'm
my fear.
patient. That's all.
That I understand where you're coming from. So if anybody has changes, Steve, like your chart, or anybody has some edits, I took out most of the images just because it ended up being like too big to send. So it's just a text. Feel free to redline it and send it back, and I can then modify it. And again, Debbie, if you want to talk about softening some of my additions, we can do that too.
No.
I take no ownership. I'm happy. I just want to make sure.
I know why you did it. That's all right. I'm just razzing you.
You can razz me. And well done. Very well done. Okay, so any questions on the articles for Life on the Rocks? Okay, so we have some action items on that, which is everybody to take a look, Brianna and Michelle to fill in the blanks in the first article, Mike Schmidt to, review again, make sure we've got everything right with respect to the alternatives, and any other suggestions or changes that people want to make, we can make. Okay.
When do you need those?
I'd say within a week. Within a week.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say by next Wednesday or Thursday. She wants them. Oh, okay. Sorry. So yeah, by next Wednesday or Thursday. Also, she would like to, drum roll, she would like to have the Alternative Energy Committee on the cover of Life on the Rocks. And she would like us all to wear a green shirt or something green. And she'd like to have us, she's thinking in front of the charging stations behind Town Hall, that maybe if anybody thinks of another place that's green and environmental and all of that, we can do a couple places. Anne, who is an amazing photographer, she did my son's senior pictures. She's the photographer for Life on the Rocks. So she will be doing our portrait. So the date that she put out was March 1st at 4:00. So first of all, is everybody okay with wearing something green and having the Alternative Energy Committee on the cover of Life on the Rocks?
Sounds great to me.
Yeah.
I think it's very high profile. I think it gets our word out. And I'm very pleased that she came to us with this opportunity. And then if you can put an action item, Debbie, for me to put out a group-wide inquiry as to make sure everybody can do March 1st at 4:00. I'd like everybody to be there to do the photo so we can have everybody in it. And we're keeping it to the committee, but we are identifying obviously the liaisons. And then also maybe Michelle and Brianna. Again, I leave that to them. But I think it's, actually I'll check with her on what she feels, but I don't know how many people, she might have a limit and how many people can be there. But she does want us to wear green, and March 1st is the current date. So action item for me to check with everybody, make sure that date works and everybody has something green.
So she did ask me if maybe, I would do something with my car.
Yeah.
And then I suggested, because I don't think she knows Steve has a car. And so I told her that we could have a red and a blue one. And, that might be something we could factor into the picture somehow too, 2 committee members or whatever. And then I know Corey had, like we did before, I mean, he's a selectman, but with his white IDK, we'd have red, white, and blue. I don't know. I tossed that idea out to her, but we should bring them anyway, Steve, I think. And then if we want to use them for anything, we can.
Sure. Another alternative might be to photograph us at the solar array.
Yep. No, I think there's a couple of places we can suggest to her. The red would be great because it's complementary color to the green we're going to be wearing.
I'll make sure it's clean.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll give me an excuse to clean mine too.
Good.
You can stand in the ocean, maybe stand in the ocean with the water up to our necks. Real dramatic effect.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, by
Actually,
the way, about Life in the Rocks articles, it's a very visual magazine, so I suggest that we put illustrations in for our articles and let them take the illustrations out if there's not room. But something grab people's attention.
I agree. I agree. Okay, anything else on Life on the Rocks? All right, on to the next topic, which is update on our initiatives. I think we can go through this quickly. Solar energy RFP is still where it is. It's just still where it is. The town hall renovation, is Pat our liaison? Normally Michelle also liaises, so they're not here to report. I don't know. Does anybody know if anything's going on with the town hall renovation? Okay. Community solar, again, back burner. Go electric. Is this also on the back burner, Debbie?
Yeah, there's a couple of things I want to think, and maybe I could talk with you too, or, you and Steve about sort of reconfiguring it.
Okay. Yep. Let's maybe make an action item offline for the three of us to talk about that. Sustainability and net zero goals. I think when we go to the select board for our quarterly meeting, that's when we're going to ask them for permission to pursue this and to exercise the grant that gives us a person who will do the greenhouse gas inventory.
I wonder if we want to broach the idea of the net zero building code at that meeting, or is that not appropriate at that time?
No, I think to give an update on that. Did it get passed?
They call it a straw plan, a straw proposal, and they've asked for public comments, and they hope to have everything all done, all finished, final and approved by December. So towns could review it and adopt it as early as December, according to their current schedule.
Well, I think we should definitely give them a heads up about that.
Okay.
I think it's an informational presentation, not an advocacy presentation at this point. But I think
it could be very brief, but just tell them that this is, it was in the climate roadmap bill, and the Department of Energy Resources has finally gotten around to making good progress in drafting it. So.
Okay, well, I think we definitely should give them a heads up on that, and also do it in the context of things are happening outside of the town. It would behoove the town to have us look at sustainability and net zero goals within the context of what's happening around us at a minimum, and then also with respect to what the town itself wants to do, and figure income and present to them a path forward, which I think has to include a consultant at a minimum for the greenhouse gas inventory. But Hingham just put out an RFP for a consultant to write their climate action plan. So what Hingham did, as I think in May, they voted for a net zero by 2040. And they also, as part of that, established a climate action plan committee. And the climate action plan committee was given funding from Hingham Light Company of $80,000 to hire a consultant to write the climate action plan under their auspices, and do a significant amount of outreach over the course of the next year. So they gave themselves a year, an $80,000 budget to hire a consultant who would work with the different committees in town and public outreach to develop a climate action plan. So that is what Hingham is doing right now. They would have a climate action plan on how to meet their net zero goals by next March, in a year. Hingham has also already in 2017, Hingham Light Company established that they are going for a 100% renewable. Now, Hingham Light Company buys most of their power, but they're increasingly buying from renewable or zero emission resources.
Oh no, they're going to compete against us for the aggregation power.
Everybody is. I mean, this is what I think the town needs to know. I think we have to I think the town needs to know, should we be a first mover? Should we be a second mover? Should we be a leader? Should we be a follower? Like, what are the repercussions, right? If you're in the front, you get, in some cases, you get a better situation. If you're last, you get the crumbs and you're left carrying the bag in some senses. That most certainly is what we saw with respect to solar. So I think it's worth the conversation with them. This is something Pat Gooding has been pushing, and it's something that I've continued to say, we don't have authority to pursue this right now, but we do have authority and need to go to the select board and explain to them why they need to be thinking about this. So Steve, good point. Okay. Anything else on sustainability and net zero goals? All right, BRIC grant. On January 26th, we submitted the final BRIC grant proposal to MEMA, who submitted it to FEMA. And it had some last minute changes to the design tied to cost estimates that we got from Ameresco and NLX. And it included some additional activity, which we don't even know if FEMA is going to fund it. And it included 2 additional support letters. So in addition to the 4 support letters we already had, we got a support letter of support from Ameresco and a letter of support from NLX. And NLX in their letter called the Cohasset Microgrid Project, quote, the most innovative and impactful microgrid project that we have ever seen. So it's very exciting. They were very excited about what we're trying to do. And we submitted it, and we will now have to see if FEMA buys it. Do they buy our calculations? Do they buy what we're trying to do? I presented to the select board on Tuesday night and really focused on phase 1. So it turns out this year is the first year FEMA is doing a 2-phase, allowing for 2 phases, where the first phase can be a study to really batten down the design, get some procurement estimates, what things are going to cost, to be able to then solidify the benefit cost analysis and make a decision on whether to proceed with phase 2 implementation. We took advantage, it was posted like in January of this year, like that's how sort of hot off the press this phased approach is. We decided to take advantage of that. And so we broke it into phase 1, which is $1 million, and a phase 2, which is, I think it comes out to be around $35 million. And my pitch to the select board on Tuesday was, let's focus on phase 1. And do you want to have this conversation? And if you do, then we need to put a warrant. You should consider doing a warrant article for the town meeting for the $1 million phase 1. So the phase 1 would have National Grid doing a very thorough design and would have the town doing procurement. We would expand a little bit the scope for National Grid to look at tree trimming. If FEMA buys our tree trimming costs, which they might not, we would be able to have National Grid look at tree trimming and tree wire throughout the entire town. You'd still have a backbone, microgrid backbone, but the tree trimming in the microgrid, the tree trimming and the tree wire would be upgrades for everybody, which might make this less political and provide benefits to the entire town as far as the support. The tree wire and the tree trimming alone is very helpful for when the town would normally have an outage. It's not helpful for when there's an outage upstream. And that's about 30% of the time and the major cause of long duration outages. So this is how the BRIC grant has gone forward. I will circulate to everybody the presentation that was made to the select board, updating them on this. And we will have to have a conversation because we'll be the sponsor of that warrant article if we so choose to move forward with $1 million, of which 75% would be paid for by the federal government. And basically, this is answering the question of how do we improve power supply for the town of Cohasset. But as I said to the select board, you can always do nothing. You can always just, hey, welcome to Cohasset, get a generator. So it's an opportunity for discussion. And the town can decide whether or not this is worth pursuing on the first stage. So that's where we are on the BRIC grant. I will say I'm very proud of that proposal. We'll see if FEMA likes it. but MEMA submitted it and we don't know how they ranked it, but MEMA did submit it and FEMA has received it. So we'll know in the summer. Might get some questions beforehand, but that's the status of the BRIC grant. Any questions? All right. Data report. I don't have any updates on the solar energy array, except that we're pushing $300,000 in savings, which is great. And the electric vehicle charging, we don't have a report on that because Brianna's not on, but I will ask her, let's do an action item to get that information from Brianna so that we can include it in Life on the Rocks as well as on the report to the select board at the quarterly meeting. All right, any questions on the data that we don't have to report? Okay, any matters not reasonably known in advance or topics that we should put on the next agenda?
May I add something?
Yes.
Not to add something to your already full plate. I can see that you have a lot going on. And this may not be the committee to deal with this, but since you are concerned with the environment here, I thought this would at least be a good place to throw it out there and see what you think. I'm not sure if you're aware of what's going on with the Pilgrim Station nuclear power plant and Holtec's decommissioning plan. It's been out in the news a bit, but I don't know if Cohasset has really grabbed a hold of it quite yet. But there is a plan to dump 1 million gallons of radioactive nuclear liquid waste into the ocean. And that is obviously going to have some detrimental effects on Cape Cod Bay. And it's a big problem. So there is no nuclear advisory committee in Cohasset, so that's why I'm coming to you. There is one in Duxbury, and there has been some outreach done in some of these other South Shore towns to try to get some juice behind it as we come down the South Shore, because that will affect towns down as far as Cohasset and Hingham, and all the way out to the Cape, out to Provincetown. So this is going to affect the fishing industry, just everything, the recreation, all the beaches, and it'll be quite a problem. So there is a very active group that is working very hard to prevent this from happening. Surprisingly enough, Holtec, there is not a lot of there's not a lot of rules in place to prevent them from doing this. So there is now an emergency bill that was just presented to the Joint Judiciary Committee 2 days ago. There was a meeting, and it's an act relative to preventing the discharge of radioactive material. And it's a very, very timely situation. They're going to be making a determination on this very quickly because of this emergency bill. And there's probably not enough time to float this out to a large population in Cohasset, but I thought at the very least, if I could forward you, Tanya, this information, that at least maybe if the 6 of you could write a letter and send it into the government website that I'll give you in opposition of this, it would be helpful because we need as many letters as possible. So I'm just, and then anybody else that you can send it off to, that would be helpful as well. And then beyond that, just following up on this matter and maybe getting some Cohasset people involved. So I don't know. I'll ask you, Tanya, if you think this is something that is maybe falls under the umbrella of this committee.
Yeah. So thank you.
Can I just say one thing real quick?
Yep, Josh, go.
There was an update as of an hour ago that the EPA says they can't dump any water without analyzing the pollutants first. The EPA just kind of shut that down of them dumping it into the water.
Yes, and there is, yes, I got the follow-up email on that.
Okay, just wanted to make sure you saw that. It just looks like it was an hour ago.
All it's doing is buying us a little time,
Okay.
but it's not stopping anything. So we need to keep the momentum going, and it's a big concern. So, and I thought that you would agree with that.
Yeah, no, Alicia, thank you for bringing this to our attention. So the answer is yes and no. Yes, because we're alternative energy and the well-being of the town with respect to energy resources, I think this does fall under our umbrella. We definitely would be the right place to come to, because we can now circulate whatever you send us, which hopefully is a nice succinct summary of what's happening and where to send letters and what to do.
Mhm.
We would send that to the Harbor Resiliency Committee, to the Master Planning Committee, probably to some other active groups in town, to say, just to make sure you're aware of this.
Mhm.
And we would also, of course, send it to the town manager and the members of the select board, again, saying in our role as keeping you informed about what the options are that could benefit the town as well as harm the town. You
Mhm.
should be aware of this. We as a committee have no authority to do anything unless the select board gives us clearance to do that.
Okay.
So, but I think, so the letter would not come from us. It could, if the select board agrees, it should come from us, that's fine, but it'd be more powerful if it came from the town manager or the select board, or the select board in conjunction with the advice of the Alternative Energy Committee. So we are used often in these types of contexts as given some credibility behind the opinion or the letter or whatever. So I think that this would be our action items, Debbie, which is, and Alicia, we don't give non-committee members action items, but hopefully you would forward to us whatever you have with respect to a summary of the issue and potential action and what to do, everything you just described, but in writing.
Mhm.
We can then forward that to the relevant committees, like the ones I just named,
Okay.
and including the town manager and including the select board, possibly advisory committee, although I don't think they're the right ones. Most certainly Harbor Resiliency is going to be very concerned about this. Sandy Beach Association would be very concerned about this. There are associations in town, the ones who manage the houses on Bassins Beach, those would be examples. So we can forward this along under our mission of informing people, and we definitely can be part of that megaphone and making sure people are aware of this. And then to the extent there's an action item for us from the select board, we would activate on that, probably in conjunction with them and the town manager.
Okay, that's great. I just want to make sure that you understand that the letter that I'm proposing is not something that has to come from an official committee. This is a letter for that anyone in the population can send. It's more of a more like a petition sort of thing. So any individual can send a letter. It doesn't have to be, formally signed by a committee. And I will be happy to forward you the information that I have. I am getting forwarded information by the chair of the Nuclear Advisory Committee because I am floating it out to my groups. So I just thought that I can forward you these emails too. And you can read through some of the material and just kind of catch up to where this committee is at now. And if you would be so kind to forward it along, like you just said, that would be terrific. Because
Okay.
I think those committees would be very interested in this.
Right. And I'd like to maybe make a point person. Let me ask, does this committee feel like we should have a point person on this?
The Lamperts, Jim and Mary Lampert are the ones that are sort of spearheading this. Mary is the chair of this committee in Duxbury, and they are so knowledgeable about everything that's going on, and they have been amazing at getting this where it is now. And I know that they're sort of working their way down the South Shore, trying to make connections. I think they were going before the select board in Situate, either this past week or next week. But because this emergency bill is, an urgent matter, I thought maybe I would get that out to you as soon as possible, because these letters, I think that the more they hear from individuals that live on the South Shore, the better.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I guess my question to the committee members are, instead of having Alicia forward those to me, do we want to create a point person for this particular issue, knowing that we don't have permission to do any action on it, but from an exploratory perspective, we can explore. And that would give us opportunity to then understand this more, to go before the select board and ask them about, make sure they are aware of it and see what they want to do.
Well, how time sensitive is this? When are they planning to do this?
Well, they'll be making a determination on this bill soon. It has been delayed a little bit, as you just said. They're going to be testing this water, but the letters need to be received soon. I have no idea what day they'll make this determination. I don't know how long this delay will be, but the more letters that we can get in from individuals in Cohasset and in and around this area, the better.
Are you talking about a week, a month?
Oh no, I think within days. I would say I would try to do it this weekend, if possible.
But there's a longer term issue, isn't there, as well?
Oh, there's a longer term issue, yes. But I'm saying in terms of just getting some letters to support this emergency bill, that's sort of what I'm throwing out right now. And then beyond that, yes, there would be follow-up.
Okay, so any individual can do things within their capacity as an individual citizen.
Correct.
Obviously, for us as a committee to act, we have to have the permission of the select board. I still do think that we need to forward this along as soon as possible, but municipalities don't operate quickly. They're slow moving machines, and probably rightly so. So I do think this sounds like it's there's beyond this weekend, there's also information and knowledge that needs to be shared and people kept up to date, because emails won't stop after this weekend, right, Alicia?
No, of course, no, absolutely. And what I can do is I will reach out to Mary. I will reach out to her. I won't hear back tonight, but I will reach out and I will hear back from her, I'm sure, in the morning. And I can let you know what sort of time frame we're in now with getting these letters in as they relate to this emergency bill. And then at least I can give you a window to work within to try to get as many people to send in a letter to support the bill as possible. And then however you see fit to proceed from there.
Okay, and again, I think given the urgency, obviously the individual action as citizens can happen without going through a process, but other activity would need to go through a process. But we as a committee, I think, are charged with letting the town know about things that could help and hurt the town with respect to energy decisions happening. So I understand where you're coming from, Alicia, and I totally appreciate it and understand the urgency of this. And so I leave it to the individuals who are attending this meeting to make a decision, but you can forward it to, well, that's what I'm trying to get at. Is this something that, and I'd say either Mike or Josh, one of you, because I know Debbie and Steve are going to be very busy with the community aggregation. Is this something one of you would like to take, be the point person on? With respect to the Alternative Energy Committee?
I guess I'm just having a hard time understanding what we could do here. Besides, advocate and send a letter. I'm not really sure what.
Well, we cannot, as a committee, so let's keep our individual versus committee.
Yeah.
As an individual, we can choose to send a letter. And so Alicia's going to forward that to, I guess, me, and I'll distribute it to everybody. Or could send it to the point person. That point person would distribute it to everybody. And then ongoing emails would be sent to that person. So they're kept up to date and can report back to the committee on what's happening with respect to this topic. This committee, I think, clearly does have the ability to inform other committees within town, the town manager and the select board, about what's happening and what the potential action items are. Because this is the first, I knew Pilgrim was being dismantled. I didn't know that there was a discharge issue happening. So if we don't know, I don't think that the select board and the town manager know, and I don't think the Harbor and Resiliency, so these are just things somebody needs to be kept up to date on this and report back to this committee.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand what we think we could do, even as a town. I mean, but.
Well,
I think I was looking maybe
Yeah.
for some guidance here too. I mean, I know you have a lot on your plate, and I am not even sure if this is something that really is something that you would handle as a committee long-term, but I thought it would at least know whose hands to place this in.
Yep. And so Josh, the answer is, as a town, it probably is not us unless the select board tells us it is the Alternative Energy Committee. I think our role is to make sure that the committees in town who might be able to take action can do that, or that the town manager is aware of that. And then what can the town do? Well, certainly the select board can publicize this during their meetings so that if there are individuals in the town who want to take action, they can.
Mhm.
The town manager can use town council to see if there's a legal position to take. Again, their choice. We don't make recommendations on that necessarily unless the select board wants us to do something, like find out more and keep them apprised of what's going on. So the select board might say, oh my God, we need to know about this. Can you keep us apprised and report to us every whatever on what's happening? And then, so I think the answer is, we know our committee does not have any clearance to do anything. So as a committee, we can't, but what we do have clearance to do is find out what's happening and let others in town know. And they may have the ability to do things that we aren't authorized, or we don't have authorization to do.
Yeah, I mean, if you want me to give an update on it, I can. I just think, sometimes there's things that are larger than us, and we focusing on things that you can control is sometimes the best plan, as opposed to, we're talking about nuclear, commissions and EPAs and things that are federal level. I mean, I understand there is some advocacy we can do, and get in touch with our politicians, but yeah, I mean, I'm happy to do an update. I just feels like a little bit bigger than the select committee, but if it's just about awareness, I'm happy to.
I think it's about awareness and education.
Yeah.
That's our mission. And so awareness and education, so people are aware. Debbie?
So, to be honest, and I feel, I'm, as everyone knows, I'm crazy environmentalist, but I feel uncomfortable about jumping in on something like this without knowing more. I mean, dilution of pollution is sometimes, I mean, this is probably pretty complicated, and you know, and maybe getting it diluted as opposed to having it sit wherever it's sitting. It may actually be more I mean, I don't know. I just feel very uncomfortable about jumping in or expressing an opinion on something like this.
Well, again, we as a committee cannot express an opinion.
No. I'm just, I get that. I get that. I'm
But
just,
I think if you as an individual have an opinion, this would not be the forum for expressing it. Because
No,
you're sitting here as a committee member.
yeah. No, I'm just saying that it's just cautioning about maybe whatever happens and forwarding letters to other boards, like you were talking about before. I mean, it may be that we want to know a little bit more before we're an advocate of sending letters to other boards. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I'm going to forward you quite a bit of information and you can read it. And once you've digested it and you.
Okay, Alicia, hold on one moment.
Yep.
Mike, you had your hand up.
I don't want to get into a big whole thing here, but I did work there for 7 years, and this is something that went on since the plant was opened. It follows NRC regulations, EPA regulations, NEPDES permits. The water is treated and tested and overboarded, and it's something that happens at every nuclear power plant in the US. So that's all I'm going to say, but I do have some experience in this.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah, Mike, what do you think this committee should do, given our role, and given this topic? Is this something that, you know, again, I think our role to educate and inform, at least let people be aware that the Duxbury Committee is taking place, that there are people who are concerned about this. What are your thoughts on what would be an appropriate role for this committee?
I don't know if I want to go down that. Any opposition, you know, is obviously going to help. I don't think it's going to really do much because, you know, there's rigorous protocols that they follow, procedures, testing, and it's been done before, and you know, they're under a microscope. So, you know, it's either they're doing this or they're going to evaporate it and then dispose of it. It's really low level radioactivity, mostly tritium. But, you know, I don't know if this is the time and the place to get into a discussion about it, but.
Right. Well, we as a committee would not advocate one way or the other because that's not our role to be an advocate.
Yeah.
So given that we're not, as a committee, again, individuals can do whatever individuals want to do.
Yeah.
And so everybody here is here as a committee member.
Yeah. But being
So-
involved with it previously, being actually involved with that exact procedure, this has been going on. So now it's interesting to see that now that there's opposition to it, even though it's been going on since the start of the plant. You know, it sounds like a lot of water, but you know, it is diluted. There's, so yeah, I don't know.
Well, does this
I don't think
committee?
it's not a big worry for us because it's been going on since 1972.
Right. And how much was being discharged, Mike, when you were there? Same levels?
Well, they're saying what, 1 million gallons. I think the tanks that we did were 25,000 gallons each, and there were 3 of them, so 75,000 gallons.
How often a year?
I mean, I don't know exactly, but a couple times a year, maybe.
Okay. All right. Steve?
I just want to point out that I think that even if we do something as little as forward the communication, the documents onto like the Harbor Committee or whatever, it still kind of shows, it kind of implies below the line that we think this is something that town should be concerned about. And unless we feel that way, which would require some review, I think, as Mike says, of what's going on and what the best practices are, I don't think we probably want to do that.
Well, I
Maybe
think,
I'm wrong about that. Maybe it's totally appropriate, but it seems to me like if we sent it on to the other more relevant committees in town, entities in town, it would be like we're saying that this is something that is potentially a problem. And at this point, I don't think we know that, or I don't know. I'm kind of a little bit negative on the idea of passing this stuff along.
Mhm. As a committee.
Yes, certainly as an individual, there's no problem, but
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, my thought is we pass along stuff all the time. Hingham passes a climate action plan. We let the select board know, right? That's part of our reporting out on what's happening. So I think we could be very clear and very neutral in saying, just want to make sure that there's awareness that this is happening in Duxbury and that there's a committee that's concerned about this. And here's some of the information that they're distributing. And leave it at that.
Well, if it makes it easier for you, maybe the best thing for me to do then is not involve you and just send it, or make an appointment to go down and see the town manager and provide him the information if he doesn't have it already. And maybe, maybe then he'll distribute it to some of the committees that you mentioned. I was not trying to cause a problem with your committee. I just was, I know you're concerned about the planet, and I thought maybe you might want to know about this and as individuals maybe support it.
Okay, so totally we do. And I think you did the right thing by coming to us. I would have appreciated putting it on the agenda because it's obviously a topic that has taken us into a bigger discussion, and under open meeting laws, this is something that we didn't know in advance. But if it's a topic like this, if it's even on the agenda more official, more people can join. We could have had members from those other committees participating if they were interested. So I think, again, coming to the committee to talk about committee things and what we as a committee can do, totally appropriate. Individuals can do whatever they're going to do, right? So that, the individuals on this committee most certainly can make a decision on that. And I think that getting information from you, since this has been raised, is appropriate because it's a follow-up to what you've done. What I'm trying to do, Alicia, with the committee is understand how this committee, as a municipally constituted committee, wants to proceed. And I'm nervous about taking a vote because it wasn't on the agenda. But as a committee, we can't act without following certain protocols and being in compliance with our mission and what the select board allows us to do or doesn't want us to do or authorizes us to do. So that's what this conversation is about. The individuals have heard this, they can all decide. Most certainly, you can send us information and we can distribute it to the members of this committee as a follow-up to this conversation. But what I'm trying to get at from this committee, which I've loved everybody's conversation so far and contribution, is how do we close up this topic and in this meeting? Is there an action item? Is there something that we do next with respect to this information that Alicia has brought to this committee? And again, recognizing that what individuals choose to do is up to them. Go ahead, Steve.
Tanya, could I make a suggestion that maybe you could just simply email Alicia a list of the entities you mentioned to her that might be more interested in this problem with some contact information, and then she can approach them directly rather than going through you, having you send this information to the Harbor Committee and whatnot.
That sounds like it makes sense. And then if you decide in the future that you want to put it on your agenda, then then that's, I would then you can take it from there and take a vote, because I do agree. I'm sorry. I know this is an open forum item. I was not expecting it to turn into the this lengthy of a conversation. And I apologize. I was not planning on attending tonight. It's something that just came up, and I thought I would just look for some guidance from you. So I don't want to put you in a difficult situation. So if you can, if you could give me the contact information, that would be great. And I can even look it up on the town website probably, now that I know which committees you suggested.
Alicia,
Yes.
I was just wondering, have you contacted CSCR, the Cohasset Center, for Student Coastal Research? Because Jack Buckley and those kids can be real activists. And I think that might be coming from them. They can digest it. They might be really motivated to contact people in town too.
Okay.
And do you know that organization and Jack Buckley?
No, I don't.
Okay, well, it's actually Jack Buckley's a teacher at the high school.
Okay.
And runs this center called, CSCR, the Cohasset Center for Student Coastal Research.
Mhm.
And I feel like you could unleash those kids on it, and they would probably be thrilled.
Okay.
If you just Google Cohasset CSCR.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's, okay, so again, as a committee, we are taking action right now without deciding, are we taking action or not taking action? I think if anybody has some suggestions in a personal role to provide Alicia with contact information about who in town might be interested in this, most certainly. Alicia, can you give us your email?
Sure. I can put it into the chat.
Why don't you put it in the chat? And then,
Or actually,
think-
I don't see that there is a chat option here.
yeah, I don't see that either.
Hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, you tell you what, do you have my email address, tanya.bodell@gmail.com?
Okay.
Well, actually, just say it out loud. It'll go into the meeting minutes, Debbie, and then I can circulate it to everybody.
Sure. It's ap.bab68@icloud.com.
I'm gonna repeat that. So that's AP as in Peter,
Mm-hmm.
dot BAB68 at iCloud.
Right.
Okay, so what I'm hearing from this committee is this is not a topic that we have authority to pursue, but that if in an individual capacity, we want to write letters or share with Alicia contact information of the relevant people we think who would be interested in the town, we could do that on a individual citizen basis. Is that the consensus here?
Yes.
Okay. And then if, Alicia, there is a more detailed discussion that we should have, definitely let me know. We have to post 2 business days in advance. So we try to get an agenda prepared in a week before. And our meetings are the second Thursday of the month. And, if there's something specific that you want us as a committee to consider doing, we can take that on, and knowing that we'd have to go to the select board to get authorization to do anything.
Okay, that sounds great.
Okay.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
But I do appreciate you coming to us. And I do think, we are the right group as far as environmental issues are concerned, to at least discuss what the next steps would be. And we're a little caught off guard. So next time, if you could just put it on as an agenda item, and then we'll be able to comply with open meeting laws. This is a pretty hefty topic, as you didn't anticipate as a hefty topic, but it became a hefty topic of conversation.
Good.
And we need to be able to have open discussion with relevant people who want to attend, aware that we're having discussion on the topic. So at this point, we can't get into anything. So that's why we're not taking a motion or vote or anything. We're just
I
saying
completely understand.
an individual decision. Okay.
Sounds good.
All right. Very good. Thank you so much for attending our meeting. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else not anticipated in advance, 48 hours in advance?
You want me to give a report maybe next time on the net zero building code?
Yes,
not.
I would like that. And again, if anybody would like to put an agenda item, a topic to discuss, we need to put on the agenda and post that 48 hours in advance. So Steve, I think that would be very helpful. I think you did ask me to put that on, and I think I was so flummoxed by last week, I did not, but let's,
Well, we wouldn't have
Is there-
time anyway tonight, so it's all right.
yeah. But yeah, we had 2 speakers, but let's do that for the next meeting. And if there's any other topics, just email me. And if you can, Debbie, put that into the minutes. Actually, if there's any other topic, this is the best way to do it, because then Debbie puts it in the minutes and I read the minutes and then I create the agenda and I know I'm not missing anything. All right. Very, very good. And Mike Schmidt, thank you for your expertise and your constraint, having worked at Pilgrim Nuclear Power Plant for as many years as you have. We appreciate your professionalism and insights as always. Okay, very good. So anything else? Then I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Thank you, Steve. Is there a second?
A second.
All right, any discussion? All right, we do not have to do a roll call vote. Let's just raise our hands, say aye.
All right.
Okay, let the record show unanimous. Is that an aye, Mike?
Aye.
Okay, unanimous to adjourn. This meeting is now closed at 9:51. Thank you, everybody, for your time and passion and all you do.
By the way, Tanya, a motion to adjourn does not allow any debate.
It does
Or
not allow any
discussion.
debate? Okay,
Or
so we'll just
discussion.
motion second. and
According
there's
to
no
Robert's
roll
Rules of
call.
Order.
And no roll call, right?
I don't know about the roll call, but no discussion.
I think there's no roll call either that's the only vote that doesn't need a roll call if you're doing it virtually. So, all right, very good. Thank you.
All right, thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.